Hey guys, it's Graham. Welcome back to Trucker Man Reads. I know this is normally a book show. We're going to make a lateral move here to talk about a movie. I do that from time to time, mainly analyzing the story elements of it. I wrote about this over on Trucker Man Reads after seeing the movie on Saturday with my kids. My boys were really excited to check out Tron Ares. We watched Legacy earlier this year. And as I usually say when I'm talking about Legacy, it was it was a split decision between doing a remake, a reboot, and a sequel to the original Tron from 1983 or 82 or whenever it was, which was a visually groundbreaking but boring movie. I have yet to sit through the entire thing and stay awake. I understand that it was it was technologically unique for its time and there was a concept to be liked, but in the execution, it's just not that thrilling. Obviously, 30 years later, they're like, well, we've got better technology, we can punch it up, and we've got Daft Punk and everything. But much like its predecessor, it underperformed at the box office or whatever, but there's still some kind of following for it, and that's what eventually led to them making a third movie. I think a lot of people are staying away from this one just because of the first two, which is a completely understandable and rational reason not to. But they're missing out, and hopefully word of mouth will give it a second chance here. I'm sure that once it hits streaming and people can see it for cheaper than theater price, that'll help out. But one thing that I wanted to touch on, I mentioned this in my write-up, and it's been running through my head here, is that while there were elements of the script that were kind of flat, there were some human characters that kind of had, NPC-style dialogue and motivations, like, here's this one guy, he's the comic relief, and here's this other dude who's the concerned, competent one, and so on and so forth. Like, while most of the characters were pretty one-note, and they did their jobs well, the eponymous character of Ares really carried the film. I've seen memes going around like, oh, the first Tron bombed, the second Tron bombed, the third Tron bombed. Remove that from the equation. I understand that there's some stock to be put in the opinions of other people to an extent, but make the assessment for yourself on this one, because I think it's better than the memes and the general reputation leave for it. Apparently people have strong feelings about Jared Leto. I don't really care one way or the other. I've seen maybe one or two other things that he was in. I think that his Joker was kind of lousy in Suicide Squad 10 years ago. So what? He was the main character in that Morbius movie. I didn't see it. It didn't appeal to me. I'm unfamiliar with the character. I get that it was memed on and dunked on. Like, other than the fact that he was in those movies, that has nothing to do with the fact that he was the Ares character in this one. And he had a very appealing screen presence, and he did a really, I think, really good and effective execution on the character. It was kind of a Frankenstein story, kind of a Pinocchio story, in the sense that it's about an artificial creature who wants to become real. He's a program on the grid, but he wants to enter the real world and stay there. If you haven't heard about what the story is in this one, there are now two grids. Encom, the company that made the grid from the first two movies, they've got theirs, and now Dillinger, the rival company, they've got their own grid. And Ares is a program made by Dillinger, but he's gotten small tastes of the real world. Dillinger now has a particle laser that can bring things from the grid into the real world, but they only last for about half an hour before they disintegrate. And Ares is the program that's gotten to taste the real world, in a sense. You see this right at the beginning of the movie. They generate him in the real world, and while he's standing in this hangar, he looks outside and it's raining. And there's some intangible quality about the fact that it's raining that has an effect on him. There are things that he can experience in the real world that just can't be made authentic on the grid. this has an impact on him. When he goes back into the grid after he dereses and he talks to another security program called Athena, he tells her it was raining, and she's able to describe what rain is in a very technical sense. It's condensation of water in the atmosphere that forms individual droplets. Like, yeah, you can quantify it that way, but experiencing it is different. About halfway through the movie, when she's chasing down the protagonist, Eve Kim, there's this firefight in a building, and the sprinkler system goes off, and right before she's about to shoot Eve Kim with the same particle laser, she gets drenched in individual droplets of water, and it's such a stunning and new experience that she stops and she's staring at her hand while she gets soaked, and then her clock runs out and she dereses. There's a brief moment where Eve is on the Dillinger grid, and Ares is helping her escape, and they're riding on this jet ski through, I guess there's like simulated water on the grid, and she takes a moment, she reaches her hand in the water as they're racing away and scoops it out, and it's a fascinating new experience for her, but it's not real water or anything. The water just kind of turns into little 3D pixels in her hand and then drains off. It's not real. She's not tempted by life in the grid, even though it is a new experience, but the things on the grid are tempted by the real world because there is, again, an intangible quality to it that they can describe up to a point, but then beyond that, they can't grasp it. They don't know how to interact with it. And I think that was the difference between the character of Ares, who wants to break free of Dillinger's control, and Athena, who wants to serve Dillinger's control and be his loyal foot soldier and everything. Because even after she experiences it, it's stunning and it's new, but she's not swayed by it. She doesn't feel things the way that Ares does. She hasn't developed that quality that he has. In order to save Ares from timing out and deresing, Eve and the good guys shoot him with the particle laser that sends him to the original NCOM grid, the Tron grid from the 80s, and he gets to meet the program version of Kevin Flynn, the Jeff Bridges character who's been there in all 3 movies now. And Ares has developed tastes in certain things, and he likes Depeche Mode. Of course, Jared Leto being a musician, he's going to talk about music, and he starts rambling about the measurable, quantifiable values of Depeche Mode's music, what they did that was unique, and the things that you can technically describe about it. But when he finally tries to explain what's so great about this music to him, he finally just stops and he runs out of words, and he looks at Flynn and he goes, "It's just a feeling." And that right there is what convinces Flynn to help him with what his main object is for the movie, finding a permanence code, which will allow him to become permanent in the real world. But this will also, in effect, make him mortal, because, hey, if it makes him alive and then he dies, there's no respawning, re-resing, I guess. And Flynn tells him, because technically you should call this the impermanence code. It makes you mortal and it puts an end date on you forever. That really dips its toe in the water of things that humans have been philosophizing, thinking about for thousands of years. What is the value of life? Well, without death, we wouldn't really know that. And it isn't just that he's having feelings about art and responding to music and things that humans feel when they experience rain and changes in their environment. He wants to experience things that can't be quantified in a controlled environment like the grid. I think that there was something much more profound in that exploration through the Ares character in this movie than there was in either of the 2 before it. The first movie is just like, oh, here's this quirky, cool thing, and we can do a lot of crazy visual effects, and a man goes into a computer and comes out. This is at a time when personal computers were uncommon, largely unknown, and you could present that as a novelty. With the second movie, you could do the same thing with like, oh, here, what if I came into a computer and it looked like this, and we basically just upgraded the graphics from the first movie, and we'll retell the same story. We'll have disc battles, we'll have light cycles, we'll have a solar sailor, Tron, Clue, Flynn, blah blah blah. It was 90% of the same story. But this one finally got into an established world and said, what if we kind of hit some of the story beats that you might expect, but we're going to find something new to do with them, and we're going to find something real to say with it. I think about that when I'm trying to describe the things that I love about books that really land with me. I can talk about some of the technical things that really work, but especially when it comes to comics that I enjoy, I can just say, like, look how cool this is, check this out. Oftentimes when I'm analyzing something that I really, really love, I'll have less to say about it than when I'm listing all the things in a book that I didn't like. I can measure those things, but finding the immaterial, the ethereal even, quality in a piece of art that moves me on a deeper level, that's harder to put into words. And so I just want you to experience it and see if you have the same experience that I do. This is what I really love about Ray Bradbury's writing, especially his Dandelion Wine. That's a love letter to the summers of my childhood. He was able to tap into that vein and capture that feeling. I can't put a number and a value on it. Maybe that's also part of what I hate about lit RPGs, because it's about establishing an exact value of everything, and there's nothing about feeling your way through a lit RPG. It's all measured and locked in, and you're forced to limit it and quantify it. I think that there was that element in Tron Ares, in addition to the cool visuals and the cool dialogue at times, and like the presence that Jared Leto had on screen as this character. I think the execution was really well done, but they managed to put that seed of something deeper and better in it that makes it stand, like, not just above other Tron movies, 'cause that's not hard, but above other, franchise editions that we've seen over the last couple of decades. If we're going to live in the era of so much IP being mined, at the very least, we could get something better out of it. And this was an example of the writers putting that extra effort in with this character. So I'd say, set aside whatever the memes are saying, like, oh, another Tron movie bombed, and oh, it didn't make much. Like, don't freaking cares about the money. Like, the studio will figure out their ways to make the money back on it. That's not your problem. Like, oh, the budget was $180 million. No, the budget was $15, because that's what it cost my ticket to go see. That was the price of my ticket to go see the movie. I guess, like, it was $45 with taxes, because I took my kids, and the theater here is freaking expensive, but it's also really nice, so that's why. It's not about what it costs the studio, it's about what it costs you to go see a good movie. And this was a really good movie. So those are my thoughts on that. I like when writers put the effort into that. I think last thing I'm going to say on this one, the director, I'm not going to say his name right. I think it's Joachim Ronning. He's Scandinavian. I checked his credits. He hasn't directed much else. I think the last big movie that he directed was the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So he's got experience working for Disney doing corporate mandated sequels. And one of my main frustrations with that one, and there are several, is that it broke its own lore. There was already lore established in the original trilogy about how Jack got his compass, and this one is like, well, we need another movie and we needed to focus on something, so we'll just kind of retcon Jack Sparrow's compass and go from there. Blah. Like, that's something that stuck in my craw. There was no effort there to really make this meaningfully connected to what had come before it, and thus had given the franchise in general value. In Tron, in Ares specifically, like, they did that. They looked at what had come before. They said, okay, we're not going to discredit that, but here's how we're going to build on it. We're going to build on it in a meaningful way and make it good. So, in summary, this is my endorsement of Tron Ares as a movie. It was a really good time, and there was meaning beneath it, beyond what you might normally expect for a movie of this type. All right, that'll do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Best way to support the channel is over on Substack. You can become a paid subscriber. I don't do that over here on YouTube. Over there, it's $5 a month, but you get a big discount if you just back it for the whole year. Or you can go check the link in the description to my Amazon page. Buy one of my books. Read it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Drive safe. See you out there.